Hi guys, so in this video we're going to get our environment set up, specifically our cloud platform trial account. We will also set up a connection to our remote server, and then we're going to create an account on that server or the SAP Gateway Demo System or ES5, and then we're gonna connect that server to our SAP Cloud Platform account using destinations under connectivity, and then we'll use that destination in our SAP Web IDE. And after that, we'll try to run our first SAP UI5 application. Also, make sure you stick around to the end because I'll share 3 tips on how to use Web IDE faster. This will help you a lot in your development. By the way, if you are new to this channel, make sure you smash that like and subscribe button. Alright, without further ado, let's jump into it. Okay, to start off, we'll create a SAP Gateway Demo System account, also known as ES5. So go ahead and type in this URL. It's register.sapdevcenter.com/sup-sign-forms/ and then on the next page, fill out the registration form. After that, you will also receive a confirmation about your ES5 account, so make sure you verify that. So after you receive your email confirmation, access the ES5 server using this URL. The ES5 server will also ask you to change your initial password, so go ahead and change your password, and it will take some time to load, so go ahead and take a break. So once ES5 loaded, you will see this screen. So it's just SAP NetWeaver with SAP GUI for HTML. Actually, this is clickable, so go ahead and click on this image. So after clicking the splash page, you should now see the SAP Easy Access screen. You're now inside the ES5 server and your account is now active and ready for use. Alright, so next is to view the OData service that we're gonna use in this series. So go ahead and visit this URL. It's sap.opu/odata/iwbep/gwsample_basic. So just in case ES5 asks you for your credentials, make sure to input the ES5 account, not your cloud platform credentials. Alright, so this OData service is our remote backend service, which will be connected to our UI5 application later on. And then, as you can see, there's a lot of entities or collections in this service. There's products, sales order line, item set, as well as contacts, and some other collections that being used by the service itself, like unit weight set and product type. What we are actually interested in is the sales order set. So we'll be displaying data coming from this entity or collection in our application. To know more about this collection or entity, we can now visit the metadata of our OData service. So go ahead and type in your URL $metadata, then press enter. So metadata is actually the basic information about our remote service. So this includes the structure, the properties, and data types, and more. So I want you to scroll down and go to the sales order entity type. And in here, you can see there's the primary key, which is the sales order ID. So similar to SQL, this is your unique identifier for each item in the table or collection that we are pulling in from our service. It also contains some properties like your note, which is the one we displayed in the details page. You also have your customer name, and then your currency code, and then your gross amount. We'll also be using the lifecycle status and the lifecycle status description. Okay, so aside from the properties, we also have the navigation property. So we are specifically interested to the line items navigation property. This one is the link to our products list on the details page. So let's take a look on the contents of the sales order collection or entity. So copy the sales order name and then type in on the URL with the additional word set. So this will open up all the sales order in our backend system. Okay, so as you can see, we have a lot of orders in the server. So you have your first sales order here, and then another entry with 01 as sales order ID, then another entry with sales order 02. Now that we know our service structure, we can now proceed connecting this ES5 to our trial account in the SAP Cloud Platform. Alright, so we are now back to our new trial account. I highly suggest that you bookmark this page, and then using this cockpit is actually to manage the resources and services as well as the security and monitor your application metrics. You can also perform some actions on the cloud applications itself. So on your left pane, you have your main navigation links, and then on your main content are the contents of those links. So for this series, we only focus on the services and on the connectivity and destinations. Alright, so let's connect our ES5 account to our cloud platform system. First is to go under connectivity and then click destinations. Okay, so think of destinations as your proxy to remote systems. So you can connect any external provider and use it in your cloud account using destinations. So in our case, we connect to ES5. You will see a list of existing destinations. So I have ES5 right here. So it's sapes5.sapdevcenter.com. You can go ahead and click your new destinations button here at the top or import from an existing file. So after that, input the following details. So I'll provide the details down below in the description box. So let's go through our ES5 configuration. First is your name, which is the one that will be the unique identifier for the application. So there's a maximum length of 200 characters. Also, you have your type, which is what kind of system are you connecting to? Is it via HTTP, LDAP, or RFC ABAP? And is it a mail server? And then provide your description. After that, enter the URL to the remote server. So for us, it's SAP ES5 SAP Dev Center. And your proxy type, is it from the internet or is it inside the cloud platform? So I'm using internet because our ES5 server is outside the cloud platform. If you're using an internal service from the cloud platform, you will be using on-premise. After that, choose basic authentication and then provide your ES5 credentials. We also have some additional properties on the right side. This will reflect later on our SAP Web IDE. This enables some features on SAP Web IDE depending on the additional property that we provide. So first, we added some client, which is our ES5 client, SAP client. Then we also have this SAP Web IDE enabled so that SAP Web IDE can use this destination. And then we also have our SAP IDE system. So just input gateway because we are using a gateway system. And then also use the Web IDE usage. And I input OData underscore ABAP and some additional features. In this part, actually, you only need the OData underscore ABAP as the minimum configuration. But I also included some options just in case you want to deploy on the ABAP system later on. Okay, and then just choose the use default JDK trustor and then hit save. It's also a good practice to test the connection before proceeding to Web IDE. So go ahead and click the check connection and make sure you have your connection as a green button or icon, which means you're able to ping to the ES5 server. You can also use the check connection button on the table itself, the fourth one from the left. So just go ahead and click on that and then same results. So you have your green connection or you're able to connect to SAP gateway system. Just in case you didn't receive any green connection, make sure to double check your URL and your authentication details. Okay, so we're now done with the ES5 account creation and we'll also did the destinations configuration. Next is to access our SAP Web IDE. For enterprise accounts, you also need to enable additional configuration which is under your security and trust. So go to security, then click trust. So edit this configuration and enable principal propagation. In case you're using trial, you don't actually need to do this step. So at first, you might need to enable SAP Web IDE. So to enable the SAP Web IDE, go ahead and click Services. Then search for Web IDE. Then click SAP Web IDE full stop. And then click Enable. This may take a few minutes. So wait for the status to change to green and enabled status. So as you can see, I have my service enabled. After that, you can now click on the tile and click Go to Service. And this will open up our SAP Web IDE. I also recommend to bookmark this page so you can directly go to the SAP Web IDE workspace without going through your cloud platform trial account and then clicking services, then the SAP Web IDE tile. SAP Web IDE is our web-based editor for UI5. It's also used to develop Fiori and HANA-related projects. Alright, so on first load, you'll be on the welcome page. So you have your quick links for creating a project. You also have options to import applications from remote server, from a zip file, or from the cloud platform itself. You also have your documentations links. So you have your IDE SDK and the SAPUI5 SDK. Okay. Then to open the workspace, go ahead and click the development icon. So this is your workspace. So all the projects that we'll be creating will be included under the workspace folder. So on your left pane are your quick tools for editing the application, as well some preferences, and then the storyboard, which is like the graphical interface for our application. You also have your database explorer for HANA related applications. Then on the top, you have your menu for running, building, and deploying applications. You also have some tools for the workspace, for the UI5 application, and Team Designer. And then on the right side, you have your Git repositories pane. You also have debugging and testing pane. And then on the bottom right, you have your console. So you can see what are the background programs or jobs running. And then you also have the problem pane. So the problem pane contains some warnings or errors that you need to fix on your project. You also have some run console for MTA related projects or multi-target applications. And then some resource manager also related for the MTA project. So some of these tools we'll just go into the basics of Web IDE so that you can develop your first UI5 application. Alright, now you are familiar with the tools. Let's start our first UI5 project. So to create a project, you can either create from the context or right-click your workspace and then new and then project from template, or by clicking the file menu, then new, then project from template. So a wizard will open up. From here, you can choose to configure how your project will be set up. First is the environment. So we can set up for ABAP, Neo, or for Cloud Foundry, but we'll be using Neo for now. And then for category, you can also choose from different templates like the featured ones or the Fiori applications. You also have your Fiori elements, but for now we'll just focus on the featured. And then you have your SAP UI5 version. So most of the time they list the 4 most stable versions. So another note, in actual development, it's a must that you match the destination server's SAP UI5 version. So for me, I'm using the latest one, the 1.81 as of today. If you're using a different SAP UI5 version, go ahead and click on that version. For example, if you're using 1.52, make sure to choose the SAPUI5 1.52 version. It also affects the output of the template because some of the newer source code are only available on the latest version. So I'll just use the latest for now. After that, you have some templates that are ready for use. First is the list report application, zoomed on the picture so you can see the screenshot. So list report are for table layouts for multiple items. Then you also have your Fiori master detail, usually used for employee application and manager approval layout. And then you have your work list if you're working through a lot of items but you don't need to process them, you just want to view the details, you can use SAP Fiori work list. And then there's a OData v4 or OData version 4 of that Fiori work list. And finally, the one that we'll be using is the basic UI5 application. So our application will be completely minimal. We don't have any page or controls. As you can see, we only have the title and a header in a single page. So we'll be building controls on top of that for the next couple of episodes. So after selecting our SAP UI5 application, make sure to go ahead and click next, and then give your application a name. So let's just say orders app, and then the namespace we'll just use com.orders. And then on the view type, we'll be using XML, but you can also use JSON, JavaScript, or HTML. But we'll be using XML because it's more developer friendly and it's declarative. Declarative in a sense that as you build your project or your structure or content, you can see what is the hierarchy of your controls. So it's easier for you to browse your application structure later on. And then rename view name to home, and then click next. So since this is a basic UI5 application, we don't have any other options. So just go ahead and click finish. Then Web IDE will then create a project based on the options we provided, and then it will create a subfolder on your workspace. Alright, so we have our first application. Let's run the application first just to see what we have so far. Click on your project, make sure it's selected, and then you can click the green button on the toolbar, and it will ask you to choose a file that will be running on a new tab after this. So just go ahead and click the index.html because the other HTML files are related to testing. So we're not yet on that part. We'll just choose the index.html and then click OK. This will open a new tab and will load our application. So for the first load, it will take some time since UI5 libraries are not yet cached in our browser. Our application just loaded. As you can see, it's empty. We only have the title and the toolbar. So if you want to go back to Web IDE, just switch back to the SAP Web IDE full stack to continue editing your project. Okay? You can also rerun the application by pressing the green button or right click your project and then hit run and then run index.html. So it will open a new tab again. So common mistake is people didn't select any project on the workspace, so that's why the run button is not enabled. Also, if you right click, you can't see the run configuration or the run menu since it's not actually the project but the workspace. So now for the 3 tips to code faster on Web IDE. First tip is to use the keyboard shortcut. So go to help on your menu and then click keyboard shortcuts. So you'll find the list of helpful keyboard shortcuts for Mac and Windows. So I highly suggest that you memorize some of these shortcuts so you can quickly code or create or copy paste lines of codes rather than highlighting them and using your mouse. Especially the beautify file format because this will auto format your JS code and it's very helpful if you want to clean up your source code. Tip number 2, open the SAP UI5 SDK. So how to open the SAP UI5 SDK? Just go to your welcome screen or the home button and then click SAP UI5 SDK. This will help us search for sample controls and as well as the API for the SAP UI5 version that you're using. And you can also view some of the tools for developing, like your UI5 inspector link is here. You also have your icon explorer. So we'll go through all of these tools later on. Take note, make sure to choose the correct UI5 version. So you can change the UI5 version on the top right corner. Just click change version and select the UI5 version of your target system. And then last is tip number 3, don't close the running application. So you can actually just leave the running application. So when you edit your source code, for example, I want to change the title, just press save or edit, save, then just refresh the existing application and it will be faster rather than pressing the green button again and then the browser needs to reinstantiate all the cache and download the SAPUI5 resources. Alright, so we've linked our remote server to our cloud platform using destinations, and we've created our first UI5 project using SAP Web IDE. So in the next lesson, we'll talk about project structure and UI5 control basics. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, like this video, or leave a comment below. And that's it. We'll see you on the next session.